Am I the a-hole for paying for my bio daughter's wedding, but not my stepdaughter's because of how she acts and treats me? For context, I, 56 male, have been married to my wife, Lisa, 57 female, for 25 years. We have a daughter together, April, 24 female, and Lisa has a daughter, Carly, 33 female, with her ex-husband, Doug, 60-ish male. Lisa had divorced Doug when Carly was only 6 or 7 because he had addiction problems and refused to seek treatment for it, and essentially couldn't hold down a job or help provide for their family. I met Lisa soon after and we got married, and she had full custody of Carly, so they both moved into my house at a time. I've always seen Carly as my own daughter, and always wished to be an additional male figure in her life, after her own father, but she always saw me as the man who replaced her dad and took them away from him. As someone who came from divorced parents myself, I completely understand why she felt this way, and respected that she wanted space and boundaries from me, so I never pushed anything beyond just a friendship between us and never forced a father-daughter relationship. With this, I always tried my best to show up to her school events with her mom, paid for college, including her in all of my family's gatherings, etc. But once Lisa and I had our first child, April, Carly was extremely resentful of April, and thought April was here to replace her the way I replaced her dad and her family. She would often bully April when they were kids, and we had to put them both in therapy to finally work things out. Now they're both adults and have their own lives, but Carly continues to take digs at April whenever she has the chance, compares herself to April, talks down to her, etc. And now this is getting to their weddings. April got married last year, and I paid for the whole thing as she is my daughter. Carly recently got engaged, and I offered to help pay for the wedding, which she gladly accepted, and the planning was seemingly going well until she showed her mom the guest list, and April and I were nowhere to be found. Carly said she didn't feel close enough with April and I to include us in her big day, which I respect and understand. But she's not close enough to me to invite me to her wedding, yet she's okay enough with me to want me to fund the entire event? This is when I told her I won't be paying for it anymore, and it's become a huge issue that I'm treating her like she isn't my daughter. Showing favoritism to April is not fair, etc. I have done nothing but try to build a relationship with her for 25 years, but she clearly doesn't want one except for when I'm financially benefiting her. I didn't mind this when she was a kid because it was my responsibility to provide for her, but I'm just so sick of this now that she's older. Am I the a-hole for paying April's wedding but not Carly's? Now for the top comments. Tell her you didn't want to replace her dad, so it didn't feel right taking his responsibility of paying for the wedding. Also, you may consider her your daughter, but she made it obvious she doesn't consider you her father. And his wife doesn't consider him her father either, or she would have encouraged a relationship for them. She was 6, not 16. I'm very surprised that more people don't understand the concept of don't bite the hand that feeds you. How does a grown woman think not inviting the person who's paying for her wedding would go over well? Not the a-hole. Don't give in and pay. You're just an ATM to Carly. She doesn't have any respect for you. I can't believe the nerve of her to expect you to foot the bill, yet you don't get invited. Yes, she doesn't have to have a relationship with you nor April, but that doesn't mean you should be taken advantage of. Let her know that you understand you two don't have a relationship because she never wanted one, and you completely respect that. However, that goes for your money too. The petty person in me would tell her to go ask her own father for money for her wedding. Where is your wife in all this? Does she approve of Carly's behavior? Is she pressuring you to pay? My wife is just really upset. Not with just the wedding, but the way Carly has rejected me over the years, and that has gotten to this point. She wants Carly to invite April and I and then have me pay if I get invited. But I think the damage has been done by now to even reconsider helping. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter she shouldn't be shocked at getting less money gifted for her wedding than her sister received? I have 2 daughters, Maddie 30 and Jess 28. They're both beautiful young women with a lot going for them. Maddie got married in summer 2021 while Jess got married this past December. Maddie always wanted the traditional large wedding with the whole extended family and a big reception. She ended up having about 150 guests attend, and it was a blast. Jess, however, always wanted something more low-key, which suited her personality better. She doesn't love being the center of attention, and said many times how she thinks spending a ton of money in one day is unreasonable, which is fair. From the time they were little, my spouse and I saw that coming and were okay with it. Planning Maddie's was a lot, so we were honestly a little relieved when she told us. She had a very small wedding, but then rented out a space for a celebration a week after that she invited relatives to. due to a few factors, which I believe would be doing it in the winter versus summer, not inviting people to the real wedding, and just being less of a social person her whole life than Maddie. Not as many relatives attended Jess's event. We have a large extended family, but only about 1/3 of the relatives who went to Maddie's wedding attended Jess's event. She also didn't receive nearly as much money gifted. Maddie told us from family that her husband and her got about $25K, which they put towards a down payment, while Jess got some money but just a few thousand, mostly from her grandparents. Jess was complaining about it this weekend and saying how the favoritism that Maddie got was unfair. Said that it's proof that a family doesn't care about her, and to be honest, she was sounding a little bratty. I told her she shouldn't be surprised that people she chose not to include in her actual wedding weren't willing to travel to the other event or be as generous, and that she should be grateful people came at all, and that her parents paid for everything. I told her for having no expenses and still getting a few $1,000s, she should be thankful. Jess did not take that well and called me an a-hole and has been very, very upset. I personally think she's being a little overdramatic and will get over it, but Maddie told me I was being a little harsh even if what I said was true. Am I the a-hole? To answer the common question, for Jess's event, we rented out a restaurant's event space. There were drinks and hors d'oeuvres, but it was not a traditional wedding reception, as in no full meal, dancing, no DJ/band, no wedding party speeches or anything like that. This was exactly what she wanted, and my spouse and I paid for it entirely. Info: how much did you personally give Maddie and Jess? Did you help pay for both weddings as well? We did not give a cash gift to either, but paid for Jess's entire event. Maddie's wedding was paid through a combination of me and my spouse, her husband's parents, and Maddie and her husband. Not the a-hole. Why would your family give money to a couple who didn't invite them to the wedding? The cash gift was just that, a gift. They were lucky to have received more than they spent on the wedding, which was paid for by parents. This is what I was trying to tell Jess when she told us this plan. I told her I support it if that's what she wants, but she should be aware that it's very possible invitees won't treat it with the reverence and expectation of being invited to a wedding, and the turnout is likely to reflect that. Not the a-hole. Who seriously cries because they only got a few thousand as wedding money? That's very spoiled and ungrateful. I can see why fewer people came and gifted her money. A massive part of this was missed off the OP. From reading the comments, only about 10 people were invited to the wedding and the rest were invited to a celebration dinner at a restaurant on another day. Jess is seriously the a-hole. A celebration dinner isn't a wedding, and I don't imagine those attending really thought about giving a wedding-style present. This isn't about favoritism. This is about two different events receiving different gifts. And it wasn't even a dinner, just drinks and appetizers. You don't give a wedding-type gift for some snacks this normal. To expect wedding-type gifts for a non-wedding/just a celebration is warped thinking. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister wear my wedding dress, even though I never actually wore it? I, 28 female, was 15 weeks pregnant when lost my fiancé. He had been in an accident at his bachelor party and experienced a traumatic brain injury. He was in a coma for a while, but it was pretty clear immediately after the accident that he likely wouldn't recover at all. I was obviously heartbroken for a lot of reasons, but something that particularly haunted me was feeling like our child would never have anything from their father. He wasn't very materialistic, so I didn't really have any sentimental items of his to pass on. The only thing I have is my dress. It's not traditional, but he picked the wedding dress. We saw it when we were at a second-hand shop looking for cheap furniture. He said that when he imagined our wedding, he imagined me in a dress like that one. My mother-in-law had it preserved for me after his funeral, and I decided that when my child got old enough, it would be theirs. The baby is a boy, and is 4 now, so I don't think he'll be wearing the dress. But if he does, that's fine. Lol. If he gets engaged to someone and that person wants to wear it, I'd be alright with that too. Now, my sister Faith, 25 female, is getting married in the fall. She called me a few days ago and asked if she would be able to wear my dress for her wedding. I explained to her why I wasn't comfortable with letting her use it, as I planned to pass it down to my son since his father chose it. She said that she doubted my son would ever actually wear the thing, and that I'm doing my fiancé an injustice by letting the dress he picked sit in a box collecting dust. I told her again that I wouldn't be letting her borrow it, and then hung up. Our mom called me and said that my sister is hurt because she had her heart set on that dress, and she wanted to share this special moment with me. I said that I'd be willing to go dress shopping with her, that we can have a special moment then. But my mother told me that I'm being selfish and that I should be happy that someone will actually get to walk down the aisle in my dress. Still though, I told her I wasn't changing my mind. Most of my family saying it's unfortunate I never got to wear it, but that I should be happy my sister wants to. I'm not really second-guessing my decision, but I'm feeling a little guilty about it. I just want some unbiased opinions on this. Edited to add, when we were going through the wedding preparations, my sister was there when I tried on the dress after it was altered. She's into vintage fashion, and she said she really loved the style of the dress, and pointed out that it was probably worth more than my fiancé paid for it. It's possible that a driving factor behind her having her heart set on it is because it happens to fit into her interests, but I don't know. Also, my son and I visit my mother-in-law almost every weekend, so I might just bring the dress over there with me and ask her to keep it for me. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I think what you are saving that dress for is beautiful in itself. I'm sure your child will think so too when he's older. There are millions of wedding dresses to choose from. She doesn't need that one. Thank you. I hope he'll think that too. I wish I could give him more than just a dress and memories, but I'm glad he'll be able to have a connection to his dad through something he found beauty in when he was here. I fear that if you were to give in to your sister's demands, the second you hand it to her, the likelihood of you seeing it again would be slim. She would claim it as hers, and that she would want to pass down to her kids. Your sister also most likely doesn't want it for sentimental reasons, but to get a free dress. Your family's being heartless. Do not give her that dress. I would also suggest storing it in a safe place that your family can't reach, so they can't attempt to take it from you. Sounds extreme, but it's better to take precautions now. Not the a-hole. Yep, my mother's sister-in-law did return my mom's dress, but the whole outfit was damaged. Years later, she borrowed a veil and headdress for a relative of hers, and they were never returned. Not the a-hole. I think your reasoning is beautiful. I think your sister and mother are being cheap. They may have to alter the dress so it fits your sister better. I do not know. And then it would not be the dress that your fiancé had picked out. Personally, so they can't steal the dress anyway, I would ask your mother-in-law to hold on to the dress for a little while. Maybe I've just read too many of these stories where that has happened. I thought about asking her to hold on to it, but she's not even aware that my sister asked for it to begin with. I didn't want to upset her or burden her with my family drama. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing the opportunity to walk my sister down the aisle? My father passed away when I, male 26, was 22 and my sister, female 29, was 25. With this in mind, my sister, after getting engaged, asked me if I would do the honor of walking her down the aisle. At first I was elated, and so I enthusiastically agreed. Then things quickly changed after my sister realized that my wife was pregnant. In the preceding months, my sister made my wife's life hell, who initially had been one of her bridesmaids, but was relatively recently informed that she will not be one. Originally, it was fine, but as my wife's pregnancy became visible, my sister would at times taunt her and make rude comments towards her. During her bachelorette party just a few days ago, she even yelled at her because she was ruining her fun by being too distracting and not drinking. I kid you not. The ensuing onslaught resulted in my wife being removed as one of her bridesmaids. She even left my pregnant wife on the side of the road, as my sister made her way to a party planned in part by my wife, and in a limousine paid for by me. This coupled with the fact that she had asked me recently to ask my wife to stay at home because her pregnancy will take attention away from her on her special day, just broke me. I called her up yesterday after I found out what she said to my wife, and I told her that I will not be attending the wedding and that she will have to find someone else to walk her down the aisle. That's when the calls began. Everyone has been calling me, telling me that I am overreacting and that I am intentionally trying to sabotage her wedding. She even called to yell at me and told me she had always hated that witch while referring to my wife. I told her to get lost, of course. My mother has been extremely sympathetic towards my wife and she agrees with me. My wife has been crying over this and she has herself received an onslaught of messages. I blocked all of my relatives, except my mother of course, and am planning a trip to Disneyland for my wife and I on the day of my sister's wedding, as I already booked the days off from work, and Disney is where my wife and I went on our first date, when we live in LA. This news has started its own onslaught. Nevertheless, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister made it impossible for you to participate in the wedding. Boy, no kidding. OP, write a list of what your sister has said and done to your wife, and then a follow-up call where she said she always hated that witch, and send it out to everyone who's contacted you to berate you. I'm so sick of these bridezillas who feel they can say and do anything because it's their special day. Whoa. Not a-hole, but has your sister been like this before? This sounds like it's beyond bridezilla. I was thinking this sounds like it's about way more than a pregnancy. Info, did the two not get along before? Definitely not the a-hole because you don't have to attend any event you don't want. Your reasons are valid, and I'm wondering what your family, the ones texting you, have been told if they're not siding with you. You don't owe anything to your elder sister just because you're a man, and your dad isn't there. Your sister sabotaged her own wedding. I'm surprised that the other bridesmaid didn't pull out, and that the groom still intends to marry her. Maybe they are birds of a feather. Of course, he may not have been told the truth of why he pulled out. Who leaves a pregnant woman out on a sidewalk and blames her for being a party pooper because she will not drink? A distraction for showing her bump? The whole wedding party on the bride's side are such a-holes for allowing this bullying too. There's a line where even the bride has to be told to stop. Not a-hole,